2025 is the year when many Americans suddenly realized they are no longer living in the same America of 10 years ago. A country that once promised stability, comfort, and a fair chance for anyone willing to work hard now feels like a place where even the basics slip further out of reach. $50 used to buy a full week of groceries, vegetables, meat, eggs, milk. Today, that same $50 only pays for an average dinner in the suburbs of Seattle. And it's not because you're wasting money. It's not because you're irresponsible. It's certainly not because you're lazy. It's because the country that once said work hard and you will live well has turned into a place where retirees must race against prices just to stay afloat, calculating every bill, every prescription, every small expense that used to be effortless. A place where each passing day demands more from you, only so you can remain exactly where you are. But what no one tells you is this: beyond the United States, life doesn't have to feel like a race. Somewhere out there, just a few hours away by plane, are places where the world slows down in a gentle, almost healing way. Places where $50 isn't the cost of a guilty dinner, but enough to live an entire week with fresh food, warm meals, and a clean room. Places where you don't have to apologize to yourself for wanting a decent life. In these corners of the world, with just one small decision, a quiet moment of courage where you finally admit you deserve something softer, everything begins to change. You live slower. You breathe deeper. You treat yourself with the kindness you've forgotten you needed. Imagine waking up without a bill chasing you, eating breakfast without checking your bank account, walking outside and remembering that the world can still be gentle and human. If you have ever asked yourself, is there still a place where I can live decently without sacrificing everything? The answer is yes. And the next 5 countries are your proof. So let your heart dream again. Pick up your backpack and go before life becomes too heavy for you to change it. Country 5, Nepal. There are places in this world where dignity is not something you fight for. It is something offered to you the moment you arrive. Nepal is one of those places. In the old city of Bhaktapur, mornings have a softness that feels almost sacred. Temple bells ring slowly through the cold air, each chime echoing between red brick alleys worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Thin lines of incense drift upward like threads of prayer brushing gently against your face. The air is crisp enough to sting your skin just a little, just enough to remind you that you are here, present, alive. And in this stillness, life moves with such grace that even the simplest moments feel like gifts. Here, older people are not pushed aside or overlooked. They are called Dai, a word that carries respect, warmth, and a quiet acknowledgement of all the years you've lived. For many Americans, especially those who have spent decades feeling increasingly invisible back home, the first time someone calls them Dai can feel like a small piece of their dignity falling gently back into place. No one rushes you, no one sighs impatiently. Nepal has a rhythm so slow, so unhurried, that it can almost startle you, as if time itself has loosened its grip. And yet, despite its beauty, Nepal remains one of the most affordable places on earth to live simply and live well. A modest room on the outskirts of Bhaktapur or Kathmandu costs around $70 to $80 a month. Food is humble but nourishing. Dal bhat, fresh vegetables, rice, and a bit of meat on weekends, all adding up to about $90 a month. Utilities and internet rarely exceed $50. Altogether, a full month of living comes to just $210, $220. Not luxurious, not abundant, but enough, beautifully, quietly enough. But the true richness of Nepal isn't found in numbers. It's in the way life unfolds in front of you. Children chase each other under temple roofs, laughing with a joy that feels untouched by modern worries. Old men sit on low wooden stools repairing sandals with nothing but a needle and thin thread, patient, steady, unhurried. Women sweep their courtyards at sunrise with long bamboo brooms, their movements calm and deliberate, as if sweeping away the noise of the world. These moments, small as they are, have a healing quality. They make you aware of the life you rushed past for so many years. Healthcare here is modest, but not frightening. A visit to a small private clinic costs between $10 and $20. If something more serious arises, Kathmandu's major hospitals offer treatment at prices 80 to 90% cheaper than in the United States. It is not the place for high-end luxury care, but it is absolutely the place where ordinary health needs are met without ruining your savings. In Nepal, wealth is not measured by what you own, but by the space you finally reclaim inside yourself. It doesn't overwhelm you with choices. It doesn't demand you keep up with anything. It offers you quiet mornings, respectful greetings, warm meals, and a kind of life where you feel human again, not a number in a system, not a burden, not someone racing against bills. Nepal does not make you richer. It simply makes you enough, and enough is the very thing America has taken away from so many people. Country 4. Pakistan. Rural Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Hidden among the towering mountain ranges of South Asia, the rural region of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan is one of those places that can stop you in your tracks, not because of culture shock, but because of a strangely familiar feeling, a sense that a part of you has belonged here for far longer than you realized. This is a land where life refuses to rush, where old values still breathe softly through each day, and where simplicity carries a depth that polished modernity can never replicate. Early mornings here feel almost sacred. Mist drapes over distant peaks, roosters echo across mud rooftops, and the scent of cardamom chai glides through the cold air. It doesn't make you think I'm in a foreign country. It makes you whisper to yourself, "Why didn't I come here sooner?" In rural KP, life carries a gentle truth: you can live decently on just about $215 a month, something that feels impossible in the United States. A clean, modest room inside a local neighborhood costs between $30 and $50. It's not a hotel, not a curated homestay, just humble homes where neighbors learn your name by the end of the afternoon. Food is so affordable that you slowly forget the habit of checking prices. $1 to $3 a day is enough for everything you need. Meanwhile, in the US, that amount sometimes won't even buy a single bowl of soup. But what makes people stay here isn't the affordability, it's the people themselves. In this land, kindness is the shared language. No one asks what you do for a living. No one cares which phone model you use. They ask the questions that matter. Have you eaten yet? Do you need help? Are you doing okay? Some stories sound exaggerated until you live them. A 60-year-old American traveler once shared that he simply asked for directions to the market. A farmer smiled warmly, placed a hand on his shoulder, and walked with him for over 2 kilometers. When the American tried to pay for tea afterward, the farmer shook his head and said, "Here guests don't pay. Guests are joy." Rural KP isn't a tourist postcard. There's no Starbucks, no shopping malls, no high-speed Wi-Fi for all-day streaming. At night, when the whole town turns on their routers, the internet moves as slowly as the river. Sometimes the electricity goes out for an hour, as if the universe insists you look at the stars instead of the screen. The culture is conservative, and modest clothing is necessary to blend in. Yet strangely, these so-called inconveniences make the days feel fuller, not poorer. They become pauses, gentle openings that show you how long you've lived in a world too fast, too loud, too demanding. For foreigners, Pakistan doesn't offer visa-free entry, but the 30-90-day e-visa is simple, fully online, and easy to extend. Many long-term expats do short visa runs to Nepal or Sri Lanka. Healthcare in small towns is straightforward and affordable. A basic clinic visit costs only $2 to $4, the same price as a latte in Seattle. Rural KP is not paradise. It doesn't promise convenience, modern comforts, or polished experiences, but perhaps the reason it resonates so deeply is precisely because it isn't paradise, it's real. And sometimes what you truly need isn't a perfect place, but a place that finally lets you stop running. A place that makes you feel, maybe for the first time in years, that you've found your own breath again. Country 3, India. Kochi, Kerala. There are cities in the world where life seems to breathe at its own rhythm. And then there is Kochi, a place where that rhythm feels as if someone gently tuned it 2 beats slower than the rest of the planet. Dawn in Kochi does not arrive abruptly. It unfolds. Temple bells ring softly through the mist, their echoes drifting across narrow lanes lined with coconut trees. The faint scent of incense slips into your clothes as you walk, as if the air itself carries a quiet blessing. The backwaters remain still smooth like a sheet of glass reflecting the first light in colors too gentle to name. Nothing here feels rushed. Nothing demands. Kochi has that rare ability to make you feel as if the world has finally stopped long enough for you to catch up with yourself. And perhaps nothing captures the spirit of Kochi better than its PG living model, something so simple, so practical, and yet so deeply human that many foreigners don't believe it until they've lived it. For just $30 to $72 a month, you can stay in a paying guest room, clean, modest, with a fan that hums steadily through warm evenings and Wi-Fi strong enough to call home. But the real heart of the PG comes from the Amma who cooks for you. 2 meals a day, dal simmered slowly, chapati still warm from the pan, fragrant basmati rice, vegetable curry cooked with the care only mothers seem to understand. It is not restaurant food. It is not commercial. It is nourishment in the truest sense. And when your basics are taken care of so gently, the rest of life becomes astonishingly affordable. A cup of hot filter coffee for a few cents, a tuk-tuk ride through streets shaded by palms for pocket change. Healthcare, too, surprises nearly everyone who comes here. Kochi is not a remote village. It is one of India's leading medical hubs, home to internationally recognized hospitals like Aster MedCity and Amrita. Doctors trained in the US, the UK, and Singapore work here, yet a specialist consultation costs only $20 to $30. Medicines are not luxuries that drain your savings. They are 70 to 90% cheaper than in the United States. For many retirees, this blend of affordability and world-class care feels like stepping into a parallel universe where staying healthy doesn't require sacrificing financial peace. Of course, Kochi is still India, real, raw, and sometimes chaotic. The symphony of honking can test your patience on certain days. Bureaucratic procedures may move at a pace that feels slower than the backwaters themselves. And there will be moments when the spices hit harder than you expect, leaving your eyes watering and your heart racing. But these aren't flaws. They're part of the texture of life here. They remind you that Kochi is not a polished postcard. It's lived in, authentic, and quietly beautiful in ways that perfection never could be. What stays with most people long after they leave is not the scenery or the cost. It's the human warmth. There is a moment almost every foreigner remembers, the Amma knocking on the door with extra chapati because she noticed you looked tired. The neighbor insisting you take a seat during a sudden rainstorm. The shopkeeper adding a piece of sweet without charging you because guests should feel happy. In Kochi, generosity isn't a gesture. It's a culture, a way of being. And that is why people say here in Kochi, food isn't something you buy. It's something that's shared. Country 2, Bangladesh, Cox's Bazar and rural Dhaka outskirts. There are places in the world that people rarely talk about, not because they lack beauty, but because their beauty is too quiet, too humble, too easily overlooked in a world obsessed with luxury. Bangladesh is one of those places, and somewhere along the endless coastline of Cox's Bazar the longest natural beach on Earth, you begin to understand why this country leaves such a surprising mark on those who arrive with an open heart. Morning here is a spectacle no postcard could ever capture: golden sunlight spilling across wooden fishing boats, fishermen pushing their nets into the gentle waves, and a breeze so soft it feels like it's carrying stories passed down for generations. Everything moves at a pace that reassures you nothing here is in a hurry to leave, and neither should you be. Life in Bangladesh, especially in local neighborhoods near Cox's Bazar or on the rural outskirts of Dhaka, is astonishingly affordable in a way that feels almost unreal. A small local house rents for just $35 to $60 a month. Food is fresh, simple, and deeply rooted in coastal culture. Ocean fish grilled at dawn, rice steamed until soft, dal warm and comforting vegetables from nearby markets, all for $1 to $2 a day. Transportation is almost symbolic in cost. A bicycle is practically free to maintain, and a short rickshaw ride costs mere cents. Altogether, your monthly expenses settle somewhere between $200 and $230, a number that would barely cover a week of groceries in many American cities. But what truly defines Bangladesh is not its affordability, it is its heart. The people here carry a kind of kindness that doesn't ask questions, doesn't expect anything in return, and doesn't fade even when life is hard. Visitors often say the same thing: I came to Bangladesh for the low cost, but I stayed because of the people. Sit down to eat, and before you realize it, an extra piece of fish or a small sweet appears on your plate, not as a transaction, but as a gesture. A welcome, a message that says, you are not alone here. If you walk through a village as a foreigner, someone will call out to you, not to sell anything, not to ask for anything, but simply to invite you inside, offer tea, and talk. Older travelers find themselves treated with respect that feels almost forgotten in the West. No one lets you dine alone. No one lets you feel out of place. Life here has a softness, a gentleness, that feels like an antidote to years of rushing, competing, and worrying. Healthcare is modest, but accessible. Small clinics charge $3 to $6 per visit, making everyday checkups affordable without fear. For more serious care, Dhaka or Chittagong have hospitals with far better facilities, still vastly cheaper than the United States. Bangladesh, of course, has its imperfections. The heat and humidity can be intense, especially in summer. Electricity sometimes flickers or drops for short periods. Traffic in Dhaka during peak hours is not just busy, it is a wild symphony all its own. But these inconveniences do not define the country. They simply remind you that Bangladesh is real, not curated, not polished, not pretending to be something. It's not. What defines it instead is its humanity, its warmth, its ability to make strangers feel like they belonged somewhere long before they even arrived. In a world where many people feel invisible, Bangladesh offers something rare: presence. The feeling that you are seen, welcomed, remembered. Bangladesh does not promise perfection, but it promises that you will never feel forgotten. Country 1, Cambodia. Kampot Kep. There are countries where kindness is something you earn, and then there is Cambodia, a place where kindness is the first language you hear the moment you arrive. In the sleepy riverside towns of Kampot and Kep, mornings unfold in a way that feels both ancient and new. At sunrise, the Kampot River lies still as glass, reflecting pastel skies and slow-moving clouds. You can hear the soft splash of oars as small wooden boats glide across the water. On the riverbank, the morning market comes alive, women arranging baskets of fresh vegetables, fishermen laying out their catch, the aroma of noodle soup drifting through the warm air. Everything is quiet, gentle, unhurried, like a world that remembered to breathe. Living here is not just affordable, it is disarmingly simple. A small local house rents for $50 to $70 a month. A day of home-cooked food rice, fresh fish from the morning catch. Khmer soup crisp vegetables costs only $1.5 to $2.5. Utilities rarely exceed $15 to $20 a month. Transportation. A bicycle costs nothing to maintain, and even a motorbike filled with gas needs only $3 to $5 per month. Altogether, a full month in Kampot, or Kep, gently settles between $200 and $230, a sum that feels surreal for anyone coming from the United States. But cost is not what makes Cambodia special. It is the spirit of its people. Khmer culture is built on softness, not weakness, but a quiet strength expressed through gentleness. People speak in low voices, walk without rush, and treat strangers with a warmth that feels almost familial. Older travelers who come here are never seen as past their prime. Instead, they are greeted with respect, with curiosity, with an ease that melts away decades of feeling invisible in the West. And there is one question you will hear more than anything else: have you eaten breakfast yet? It is not small talk. It is care wrapped inside a sentence. The practical things are simple too. Cambodia likely has the easiest visa system in Southeast Asia. You can arrive and receive a visa on arrival, or apply for the E-Class retirement visa, which allows long-term stays with surprisingly little bureaucracy. Healthcare is also straightforward. Small clinics charge only $5 to $10 for basic treatment. For major procedures, both Phnom Penh and nearby Bangkok offer excellent hospitals at prices that are still a fraction, sometimes just 1/10 of what you would pay in the United States. Of course, Cambodia is not perfect. The pace may feel too slow at first. The infrastructure is modest. Rural roads can be dusty after long, dry seasons. But none of these things seem to matter when the people around you speak in kindness, move with gentleness, and treat you as if you belong. Because Cambodia gives you something the modern world often forgets to offer: peace. Not dramatic, not loud, a quiet peace that wraps itself around your days. A peace you can feel in the warm sunlight at the riverbank, in the calm conversations with neighbors, in the simple meals that always seem to appear just when you need them. Cambodia does not give you everything, but it gives you exactly what you've been missing: peace. Leaving the U.S. is not about escaping. It's not about running away, abandoning your roots, or searching for some perfect paradise that doesn't exist. It's about something quieter, something far more human. It's about choosing a life where you can finally breathe again. A life where mornings don't start with anxiety, where meals don't come with guilt, where aging doesn't make you invisible, where your worth isn't measured by how much you can still produce, but by the simple fact that you are a person who deserves rest, dignity, and peace. For many Americans, leaving is not a rejection of home, it is a return to themselves. And now there is one question only you can answer. Are you choosing to live, or are you just choosing to survive? If this video stirred something inside you, even a little, let it guide you gently. And if you want more places that are affordable, kind, healing, and deeply human, just a soft, like a simple subscribe and a quiet share is enough for me to keep bringing you the stories, the landscapes, and the possibilities that might change your life.